So Lauren Boebert keeps saying absolutely psychotic things on a regular basis. We covered one on the show the other day. This is in Mediaite. She said the church is supposed to direct the government. Wow. Okay. When I saw the headline, I was like, come on. The clip cannot be that deranged and that straightforward. Well, we're about to find out.
The reason we had so many overreaching regulations in our nation is because the church complied.
What does that mean? The church complied with overreaching regulations? What do you want the church to do? Do you want them to, like, pick up arms against, I don't know, the police, the FBI, the National Guard, the military? What does that mean? What does that mean? And what regulations are you talking about?
Church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does.
She has no clue what she's talking about, none whatsoever. So she's right that the actual words, separation of church and state, are in a letter. That letter was written by Thomas Jefferson, and that was explaining the way the country's supposed to work. So one of the founders saying, yeah, this was the idea, but the actual language here, let me read you a little bit of this right here so you understand the contours of it. Separation of church and state in the United States. Separation of church and state is paraphrased from Thomas Jefferson and used by others in expressing an understanding of the intent and function of the Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, which reads, and guys, this is the most important part, and by the way, I think they nailed it. I think the wording on this is perfect. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That is in the Constitution. That is in the Constitution. So, what does that mean? Well, you can't make a law respecting an establishment of religion. So, in other words, the government cannot enforce religion. The government can't enforce religion. You cannot establish a state religion. Can't do it. So that's what that means. But the second part is just as important, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So what that means is people have a right of their own volition to be religious. They can be privately religious. You know, if you want to be a Muslim and you want to wear a headscarf, by all means. You want to be a conservative Christian and you want to go to church every Sunday and whatever, that's totally fine. So you cannot prohibit the free exercise of religion. So in other words, it's not like state-enforced atheism. You're not allowed to be religious because we say so. That's not what it is. People are free to act however they want to act on their own, have whatever beliefs they want to have. That's brilliant. But the other part is, but the government is going to be ruthlessly neutral on issues of religion. It's going to be ruthlessly neutral. You cannot, as what the Lemon Test was, is you cannot prohibit religion or advance religion. So you can't, it says it right there. So you can't establish a religion, but you can't like go and take away private citizens' religion. It's perfect. It's perfect. And that has been described, I think, in a fairly accurate way of separation of church and state. The government has nothing to do with religion, and the people can be as religious or non-religious as they want. But certainly any government institutions funded with public money, funded with tax money, have nothing to do with religion and shouldn't have anything to do with religion. She disagrees. She says, no, it should. The church should run the government. The church should run the government. What does that even mean? Only like 70% of the country is Christian anyway. And among that 70%, there's wild variation and disagreement and, you know, who's a Presbyterian and who's a Lutheran and who's a Protestant and who's a Catholic. And so you have all these different ideologies under the umbrella of Christianity. And then, and beyond that, so there's going to be disagreement among those people. But also, what about the 30% that aren't Christian? She says, no, the church is supposed to direct the government. So what do you want to force those 30%? But it would be more extreme than that, because you're forcing the 30% that's not Christian, but also to enforce one particular ideological sect of Christianity through the government. Then you might only represent 10% of that 70% chunk of the country that's Christian. Because again, there are wildly varying interpretations of what's real, what's not, you know, how you should practice that religion. Like, what do you want? And the answer is simple. She wants a theocracy. She wants a Christian theocracy in the image of her particular flavor of her particular religion. It's deeply authoritarian. There's no way around it. It's as authoritarian as it gets. And it's also just incredibly arrogant. How many times have I brought this fact up on the show? There's over 4,000 religions in the world. And Lauren Boebert is so convinced the one that I happen to be born into, that my mommy and daddy told me was correct, is correct. There's something that's so stupid about that. It's just so unintelligent. It's like you haven't stopped and thought about this for a split second. Wait, is this actually true? Is this right? What am I doing? No, none of that. So she wants to be in a theocracy. She wants to enforce her religious law on everybody else. And by the way, you know what would be that religious law? It's just whatever Lauren Boebert's personal politics are. So she would say, the Bible's anti-abortion, so we're going to ban all abortion. But hold on, the Bible's not anti-abortion. In the Bible, they talk about how if your wife cheats, she should drink bitter water and miscarry. That's saying if your wife cheats on you, she should have an abortion. That's in the Bible. Is she going to look at that and say, let's enforce this line of the Bible? No, of course not. She's not going to enforce that. She's going to pretend like the Bible's anti-abortion. She's also going to ignore the part of the Bible that says, it's an abomination to eat shellfish. I doubt she's going to ban shellfish, right? It's just whatever her view is, she's going to enforce. She's going to, in an authoritarian fashion, mandate everybody follow that and live by that. How can anybody support this person politically? It just doesn't make any sense. By the way, the biggest takeaway here is Lauren Boebert is a gigantic enemy of freedom. You cannot say you support freedom and liberty and also a theocracy. Those are contradictory. Those are diametrically opposed. You cannot support both of them, and she sides with theocracy. She doesn't support freedom by any stretch of the imagination. So guys, look, the reason why this is actually an important story to talk about now is because with the Supreme Court being in a new Lochner era, they can roll back a lot of just the basic social rights we've accrued over the years. So Roe versus Wade is already gone. What's next? The right to contraception? The right to do sodomy in the privacy of your own bedroom? Gay marriage? Is all that going to go? It's on the table. It's on the table. So in other words, now we have to go back and fight the battles that we already won. And which means we don't even have time to get to the new battles that we need to fight. Like we need to fight for a higher minimum wage and fight for a right to healthcare and all that. We can't even talk about that because now we're just playing defense. And it's because of people like Lauren Boebert, people who think the way she thinks. And she's in a very, strong position of power as a congresswoman. So just know what she is and know what you're dealing with. I don't know how anybody can support this stuff. And the fact of the matter is, there are plenty of people out there whose whole ideology is just to trigger the libs. And it's like, okay, so would that lead you in the direction of supporting an anti-freedom, anti-liberty theocrat like Lauren Boebert? Come on. This is like when I first got on the internet and first started doing my show. I got on in 2008. I started doing the show full time in 2012. But these are the battles we were fighting back then. 2008, like the whole religious versus the Christian right was ascendant. And so it was a bunch of like shit posting edgy online atheists like myself fighting back against it. We're going back to that? It's 2022. What are we doing? Okay. There, you guys get it. Terrible. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.